Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody for coming out. We are going to start the show right now. My name is Stephen Douglas. I want to thank everybody for coming out for one. And let's get right to the show. We got any celebrities out here? No? All right, good. Just in case. Last New Year's Eve, we had a celebrity lookalike in here, Johnny Galecki, and that was pretty funny. Still not. Right. Oh, yeah, there we go. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3.
Anybody hear it?
Anybody hear it? You hear it?
Can they hear him in that room?
This thing working?
Like I'm a comedian. I'm not. I try real hard though. So, this is the new year. There's a lot of crazy things in the world happening today that I've seen recently in the news. And I'd like to share a couple of these funny little stories and see if you think they're as whacked out as I do. So down in Florida, there was a guy and a girl who broke into a house and they started stealing stuff. And they needed a ride to the airport because they wanted to spend the weekend in New York. Can anybody guess who they called? That's right, they called 911 because they wanted a police officer to come help them out, because apparently they heard that cops tend to help you out if you're in a situation. Well, they got a ride, but they didn't get a ride to New York. They got a ride right to the police station. Yeah, that's one of those crazy little stories that you hear in the news and you're like, what? And the funny thing is, there he wasn't drinking, he wasn't on drugs, he wasn't smoking any crack or any crazy stuff like that. You gotta wonder, are you teaching your kids the right way to call 911? Speaking of 911, recently I've seen a bunch of these commercials on TV for cell phones for older people, so they can call 911 if they're if they need an emergency, right? And I got to thinking, I hope they're not set up like our regular phones where you have to put in your PIN number, you have to put your thumbprint, or some kind of password, because if they're elderly and they're in a situation where they're like, oh, I'm having a heart attack and I need to call 911, and they get out their phone like, oh, my PIN number, what was it, 4767? Oh, Jesus, David, what's his name? They're gonna be dead, right? So let's make it simple. We flip it up, and there's one button, emergency, they hit it, and they're done, right? That sounds good to me. This is a fantastic crowd. Looks like there's a lot of married people out here. So my wife and I got married 5 years ago. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary in October. Thank you very much. I always said I would never get married because I didn't want to be in that institution, But my institution's really good, and I'm glad I did. So. But my wife and I pick on her a lot, and I say things sometimes to her that I don't really mean, and sometimes it'll get me into some trouble. Like one time, my wife asked me, she says, honey, does this dress make me look fat? Now I should have said, no, you look fine just the way you are. What came out of my mouth was, no, the frown around your waist makes you look fat. The dress is just a magnifying glass that makes you really stand out. And boy, did that get me in the doghouse. And one time, she says to me, she goes, honey, do these shoes make my feet look big? Again, I should have said something like, oh, I guess your girls will be so jealous of your tiny little feet. What come out of my mouth was, yabba dabba do, Fred Flintstone. And boy, that put me in the doghouse. Now, we like to go out and have dinner sometimes, and she likes to put on makeup, but she's not that great at it, Anyway, she comes out one time and she says, honey, how's this makeup look? And I should have said, well, a little touch up and you'll be fine. What I said was, well, the circus is in town and you're going as Laffy the Clown, are you? Well, I'm in the doghouse so much, my dog kicked me out and I'm starting to get fleas. Just got to be careful with those things that you say to your wife. So on our wedding night, I was naive. I grew up without a dad. My dad, I saw my dad for the first time when I was 14 years old. I had to take a trip down to Texas to meet him. My dad's about as short as I am. Got a little bit of Irish in him because he loves to drink. So growing up, I didn't have that fatherly, son talk where he's like son, when you take a lady out to dinner, you pull the chair up for her and you push it in for her and you spread her napkin for her, you open the car door. I never had any of this, right? So on our wedding night, we decided we're going to go in and consummate the marriage, and sounded good to me, right? I had a little bit of an idea, but I wasn't all that crazy about it. So I heard there's a lot of kinky stuff that people do in the bedroom, right? So my wife says to me after we're in bed, she goes, "Honey, I want you to go downtown." Okay. So about 20 minutes later, I call her up. I said, "Honey, I'm downtown. What do you want?" She says, "Why are you downtown?" "That's where you told me to go. You said you wanted me to go downtown." "Here I am." So I'm downtown, and she's like, "No, come back home." I said, "Oh." So I go back home, and she's like, "Come on, get in bed." So we get in bed, and we start kissing and hugging and stuff. And she goes, "Honey, I want you to kiss the kitty." Okay. I get up and walking around. I said, "Honey, I can't find the cat." She's like, "Dummy, we don't have a cat." I said, "Well, what kitty do you?" Oh. Had one of those Homer Simpson moments there. Nope. So, but she got me straightened out on that real quick. It was very nice. That's a good way to celebrate a marriage. Honey, we should get married every day. Now that I know what I'm doing. So, any stepmothers out here? Stepfathers? Stepparents? No? Sweet. Stepmama? Stepdad? Alright, well, I won't pick on you too bad.
I'll go ahead, I'm fine.
I'd like to talk about my stepmother. She lives down in Texas, and she's about as smart as a brick, and I'm giving that brick more credit than it deserves. Now, I'll tell you a story, right? So down in Texas, they have these little red ants. They're called fire ants or piss ants. And people say, that when they bite you, they put these little white peppers on you, kind of like a little welt. Well, my stepmother was so dumb, she wanted to get rid of these. And she figured, the best way to get rid of these is I'm going to take a lawnmower and I'm going to run over their house and I'm going to destroy it and they'll be done, right? So she fires up the lawnmower, she rides over the top of it, and from head to toe she's covering these ants, and they're just biting the crap out of her. And she's yelling to my dad, "Help, get them off of me, get them off of me." So my dad comes running out with a hose and he's squirting her off. And about 5 minutes later, she's covered with all these white pimples. A blind man would have read Braille on her and he would have said, "I'm stupid," all over her body. Oh, man. Another time she says, "Okay, I know the surest way to get rid of these." She's like, "I'm going to take a gallon of gas and pour it on there, set them on fire and burn them out, and that'll be the end of that." Well, she took a gallon of gas and she poured it on top of the hill. She went and struck the match. There goes her eyebrows, her bangs, her mustache. She looked like an empty pretty about a month. Funniest thing I ever did see. Now, she relates to things. When I tell you she's dumb, I mean dumb. She's not like the kid that licked the bus on the bus window with a helmet. She's dumber than that, right? So she relates to everything by pictures. Like when you go to McDonald's and she look at the menu, she said hamburger and fries and whatnot. She could point and say, "Okay, I want this, this, and this," right? Well, we're down on the bayou, right? Me and my dad, my stepmom, and my other relatives. And my dad had been working out on the tractor all day. He had a little bit of hemorrhoid problem, right? So he tells my stepmom, he goes, "Go in the tent, get me some of that hemorrhoid ointment." So she goes in and comes back out. It's dark out. Of course, they've all been drinking because they don't do nothing down there without not drinking. So she gives it to him. He gets a nice big, scoop of it on his fingers, and there it goes. Next thing you know, he's running down the bayou with his pants around his ankles. She ended up giving him a tube of Icy Hot. You talk about a funny thing, seeing a man running down down to the water with his ankles and the pants around his ankles. That's the funniest thing I ever saw. Now, like I said, my dad's a drinker, right? And growing up, every time he wanted to do something, like the minute he woke up in the morning, he'd get a beer, he'd start drinking it, and it's like beer, maybe a sandwich of beer, right? Well, he decided one time he's going to change out the electric stove and put gas in there because he figured he's going to be more efficient. So him and my uncle decided they're going to go get this stove, and they get it, and they bring it back to the house, and of course the whole time they've been drinking, right? So they get in the house and they start hooking it up. My dad's like, "Son, come here, I want to show you how to light this thing." So, all right. So I go over there and he's like, first you gotta make sure the gas is on. All right. I'm watching him, right? He goes, well, this is the lesson you're gonna learn. Ready? I said, yep. So he strikes the match and it just blew backfire on him, right? He about bald as I was after that fire went out. So I said, Dad, what was the lesson you're teaching me? You're teaching me I shouldn't drink, pay attention when I'm playing with gas? Or what's the story with that? And he's like, God damn, son, you didn't see that fire? That's the lesson I'm teaching you. Don't play with fire. Well, Dad, alrighty then. So one time we're down out in the bayou, and my uncle Richard, he likes to go to the scrap metal, take metal back and make money and stuff. We had this old mobile home that was going to break it down and take all the metal down to the metal shop. So he decides we're going to go in there and we're going to wreck this thing. So my dad goes in there and he takes a hammer and he smacks the wall. And next thing you know, you hear. My dad comes out and goes, hey son, why don't you go in there and take down that wall? I said, Dad, I ain't been drinking as much as you are. I'm not that dumb. I know what that is. He goes, oh, it's only a couple bees. It ain't gonna hurt you. I said, well, you do it. I'll stand outside and I'll watch. All right, I'm gonna show you. There ain't nothing to it. Well, he decided he's gonna get himself a big axe, one of the old fireman axes with a big pick on it. And he hits this wall and he yanks it down, and that whole wall was nothing but bees. Yeah, so my dad, my uncle, and myself, we're running down on the bayou. Now, the good thing is my uncle had a shrimp boat down in the bayou. So we jump in the water and we swim underneath the boat. Now, underneath the boat there's a big pocket, so we're under there, underneath the wheel well. And we're sitting there, we're waiting. My dad said, son, why don't you swim up there, poke your head out, see if it's still there. I said, Dad, you pissed him off, you swim out there, you poke your head up there. So we stood down there for about 15 minutes, and finally we got up there, and we got out and everything was kind of mellowed out. But you got to be careful when you're out there drinking and doing all that crazy stuff. So some of you guys are probably wondering why I got this vest on, right? Here's a comedian, he's up here, he's doing some jokes, he's got a vest on, what's the deal with that? Well, I decided life, you have to live cautiously, right? I had to be cautious when I got married. I didn't know what I was getting into. That worked out pretty well. But mainly, I got this vest because, like I said, life is crazy. But when I first got the vest, I was working for this company, and every single guy in the company had these big trucks, right? So when I'm walking through the parking lot, I kind of felt like a hostage or a prisoner, walking through with my arms up in the air, because I want everybody to see me as I'm walking through, And that even happens when I go shopping, right? So I'm a small guy and I go shopping. I can't go into your regular men's store and buy clothes. It's like if I go in there, I'm shopping at the big and tall store for a guy my size, you know what I mean? So I gotta go in there and I'm shopping for, the little kids' clothes and stuff. So one time I'm in there and I'm shopping, trying on some clothes, and my wife can't find me. And I said, well, look for the yellow vest, here I am, Oh, man. So, all right, I think what we're going to do next is bring up my first comedian of the night. You're going to love him. He's driven here all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. His name is AJ Capuccio. Please give my buddy a round of hand.